everyone. Welcome to Lovely's virtual book club. Hi, I'm your host, Lovely. We're going to get it together in just a second here. Um, I don't even think my mic's on. I'm almost sure it's not. That's okay. Oh, wait, here it is. Let me see. Let me test it. Microphone, are you on? Yeah. Test, test, test. Yeah. Okay, it's on. Perfect. Okay, y'all. Hey, how are y'all doing? I'm your host, Lovely, and today we are going to be talking about a most phenomenal book. Let me add my slides to the stage. Black in Blues by Imani Perry. First off, let me apologize about the little name thing. I don't know why it says plant plant wildflowers there. I mean, it's a great idea, but I have no idea why that's there, and that's okay. I wonder if I can edit it. Nope. Let me not click on too many things, friends. I'll try to fix that in the course of things. But honestly, it don't really matter a ton. Because y'all know my name. I'm Lovely. I even have a name tag on. So we're good to go. Let me just share this across the platforms real quick, and then we can get into the business of discussing this wonderful book by Imani Perry. I'm wondering if, like, for me, this is your first time reading anything by her. It's my first time, but it certainly won't be my last. Imani Perry is phenomenal. She is just amazing. And this whole book was a love letter to Black folks. The way she even the title is a play on terms. Black in Blues, usually that's black and blue, but Black in Blues, that's what this whole book is about. The way her mind works it's astounding. It's truly astounding. Okay, I'm almost done here, y'all. I have to switch a couple of things on my social medias before I can share this out. And I'm already live in this one area, and it's telling me to plant some wildflowers, which honestly, like I keep saying, it's not a bad idea. Let me see if I can share this real quick. You know what, y'all? Let me do one thing. I have to switch back to me. Talk amongst yourselves, friends. We're almost there. We're almost there. Thank y'all for being so patient with me. I had the opportunity to attend a book club from out of state, and I will just say, my goodness, it was wonderful. They're so nice and kind, and I'm just realizing how much I do by myself. I'm not complaining, but it's help. It's a lot more. It's a little bit easier when you have some help. Okay, I'm almost done here, y'all. It might help if I use this app more often. I don't. And that's why I'm usually kind of, I would say, fumbling toward ecstasy, but that sounds a little weird sometimes. I guess I just said it though, so it don't matter. Anywho, I was trying to share this out, but I don't think that's gonna work. Oh, it thinks I want to do a reel. I don't. See, that's why I was just like, no, I just want to share the live, beloved. I don't think it's gonna let me, y'all. I just want to share the live with people. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that either. Again, y'all, it's not. Wait, what's this? Oh, here it is, y'all. I found it. Come and discuss Black in Blues by Imani Perry. It's a wonderful tribute to blue and the connection it has with Black folks. There, I stuttered a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to keep going. Okay. So let me adjust my sails and then we'll get going. So, as I keep saying, we are going to be discussing this awesome book. Let me see if I can't get rid of this. This is really bothering me, y'all. Hold on. Hold on. We're going to hit cancel. And I'm going to try to... I don't even know why it decided to do that. That's really frustrating for me. Visual effects. Nope. Nope. Because I want to remove this. Let me see if I can get rid of it real quick, y'all. And then, honestly, after that, I feel like I've dedicated enough time to this. Hide current banner? No, that's not going to be it. Hey! Hey! It's gone, friends. It's gone. Okay. It took me a second, but I got there eventually. I'm so proud of my own self. Look at that. Let's see. Let's see. Create a banner. We're not finna create a banner. We're not finna do that. It took me long enough to get rid of that weird thing that I had up there. Okay, so how about this, y'all? I think I've had enough of me too. Let me make my head small on here. Y'all know I had to practice with that. Let's see. We are not inviting any guests to the studio. I wanna do this. Let me see if that'll work. That makes that smaller. Okay, friends, we're gonna go with that. Look, that makes it go away. Now you can see how everything's a little bit wonky over here. What's this do? Yeah, I think I want to do this. Well, look at what I finally did, y'all. I am so proud of me. Okay, so this is the book that we are discussing today, Black in Blues, How a Color Tells the Story of My People by Imani Perry. Basically, just to get the gist of this book, it's a quote from someone who read the book. And they were saying it's a masterful convergence of literature, history, culture, where the color itself becomes the field for reflection and revelation. And my goodness, I couldn't agree more. Sorry to that person who I did not write your name down. I am so sorry. I've been kind of going through the blues myself a little bit. My mama used to call them the Wang Bang Blues. Please don't ask me what that means. But I think she got it from a blues song, actually. But it means you kind of been going through it a little bit. And I'm not in a melancholy mood or anything. It's just been a lot lately, y'all. It's been a lot. Oh, let me do this real quick. I forgot to tell y'all. Look at that, y'all. Look at that. We'll just do this. Happy Black History Month. First and foremost, with all due respect, the most important day, the most important month, with all due respect. Happy Black History Month. I know it was the start of Ramadan. Happy Ramadan. Happy Lunar New Year. It's the year of the fire horse. What else is going on? Happy Age of Aquarius, y'all. Hey. But this is the book we're reading for Black History Month. Okay, now that I have big upped my people, let me go in here and click on this. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, we're going to skip the announcements because, y'all, to be quite frank, y'all, I'm running a little bit behind. Let's talk about Imani Perry. Imani Perry is a credentialed, studied, well-versed woman. I promise y'all, this book is just super amazing. So Imani Perry is the Henry A. Moss Jr. and Elizabeth W. Morse Professor of Studies of Women, Gender, and Sexuality, and of African and African American Studies at Harvard University, and the Carol Pforzheimer Professor at Harvard Radcliffe Institute. Perry is the author of 9 books, including the New York Times bestseller, South to America, A Journey Below the Mason-Dixon, to Understand the Soul of a Nation, which received the 2022 National Book Award for Nonfiction. Perry's other award-winning titles include May We Forever Stand, A History of the Black National Anthem, Breathe, A Letter to My Sons and Looking for Lorraine, The Radiant and Radical Life of Lorraine Hansberry. Her most recent book, Black in Blues, How a Color Tells the Story of My People, was published in January of 2025. Perry has written for numerous publications, including the New York Times, The Atlantic, The Bitter Southerner, Harper's, and Harper's Bazaar. She is a 2023 recipient of a MacArthur, quote-unquote, Genius Fellowship. Perry has also received fellowships from the Guggenheim and Pew Foundations. Perry earned her PhD in the history of American civilization from Harvard University, a JD from Harvard Law School, an LLM in 19th century property and contract law from Georgetown University Law Center, and a BA in American Studies and Literature, or literature, as I like to say when I'm mocking Morgan Freeman, from Yale College. My goodness. Imani Perry is just, woo-wee, child. She is just, you can tell she's well-versed. She knows how to do research. And if that long list of credentials wasn't enough to tell you about who she is, the book will be. So, again, the book synopsis is basically a surprising and beautiful meditation on the color blue and its fascinating role in Black history and culture. And then, of course, it talks about how she has won a National Book Award. She's done so many wonderful and great things. Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate you. Let's go on and go to the next slide. So some of the themes, let me see if I can pop my big head back in here. Some of the themes that we'll be discussing today are reverence, reflection, redemption, rejection, and reclamation. And I did do all that alliteration on purpose because I really enjoy alliteration, but also I think it just makes sense for this book. Let me minimize this. Hold on, friends. We're not removing me from stage. Let me go back. And I'm going to minimize this so I can see my controls a little bit better. Thank you very much. Okay, now I'm back. Hey, by popular demand. All right. Let me pop over here. Okay, we have spread everything out. Okay, so first off, let me just say, let me read one of my notes. It says, I'm reading this from an NPR interview that I listened to with Imani Perry. Let me see. It's on NPR News Author Reviews. And it starts off, what do Coretta Scott King's wedding dress, jazz, and the middle passage all have in common? Scholar and author Imani Perry explains, it's the color blue. In her new book, Black and Blues, How a Color Tells the Story of My People, Perry explores blue as a symbol of both hope and melancholy throughout Black history. So she does so many, she does such a great job of weaving the story of Black folks and the connection to the color blue. I believe there's about 35, I'm going to call them essays. We could call them explorations. Let me see. I think there's 35 chapters. I'm not going to sit here and count them, but they're all right here in the book. And each one is a little introduction and she starts us off in her grandmother's bedroom, an interior blue. And she's just talking about how she can see the little peak of blue in her grandmother's ceiling from when they had to lower it. She could see how the original roof was painted blue. And her grandmother lives in the rural South. Y'all know I can't say that. Rural juror. Her grandmother lives in the rural South. And so it's a common thing to have to lower the roof so it's not so hot anymore. But she's telling you where her blue story begins, inside her grandmother's home, or she says our home. So their home. Let me see if I can find it. Anyway, she's in Alabama, and she's just talking about how she chose that color. She really liked it. She said she never asked whether her grandmother's favorite color was blue. Let's see. Then she said she probably would have just said, that's the color I chose anyway. Case closed. And that's that. Okay, so let's hop on over to one of my favorite chapters in the book. We're going to try to hit each of these topics of reverence, reflection, redemption, rejection, and reclamation. There's so many interesting things. So you know what? I'm going to save that one for last because I know so much about it. Let's talk about blue-gummed Negroes. So in this book, she talks about how blue can be used as a reference to make a path and connection to Black people. And when she's saying her people, she does reference Black people in the diaspora. She's a Black American woman. And during this Black History Month, I just want it to be known, and let's be clear about it. It's okay for us to delineate. It is okay for Black Americans who are the descendants of the enslaved Africans who was kidnapped and brought over here. It's okay for us to delineate from the rest of the Black people in the diaspora. There seems to be some new confusion. It's probably just bots starting trouble on the internet. There seems to be some confusion about what Black history is about in this country, in the USA, started by, I was about to say George Washington Carver, but it's Carter G. Woodson. Carter G. Woodson started Negro History Week to talk about the accomplishments and contributions that Black Americans made to American history. This has nothing to do with Black history as it is celebrated around the world. They celebrate Black history in the UK. I believe it's in October. They got the idea from us. That is 100% fine. But people seem to think around the world that Black history during February in America is supposed to include them too. And y'all's cultures are wonderful and rich and deserve to be on the spotlight. But it's not coming from us, beloveds. It is not coming from us. You do it. You do it. So in America, during February, it is for Black Americans specifically. Now, you might say, now, lovely, that doesn't seem fair. We have so many of the diaspora who live in America, and they are not in their respective countries. And to that I say, that's what June is for, because that's a Caribbean history month. Even though Juneteenth's in it, and we've been celebrating Juneteenth, we let y'all have that whole month. We'll take a day, though, because it is right and fair. That's that. And I believe September, it's either in the works or it's already done. That's when the rest of the continent of Africa who happens to be living in America, that's y'all's month. So this is our month. You can appreciate, but it's ours, and we don't really have to share. We don't have to share. I think we're one of the only groups in the African diaspora who doesn't get to wave our flag. I don't know what that's about. Actually, I do, but we're not supposed to be talking about that right now. But we get to be proud of our ancestors and what they created and what they had to go through to create that in this country. We get to do that without being accused of being xenophobic or hating everybody, because we don't. We just love ourselves quite a bit. So anyway, I just wanted to set the record straight because other than reference to this book, I'm not really going to be talking about Black folks in the diaspora, and y'all will be okay. Y'all will be 100% okay. Y'all got y'all's cultures to lean back on, so lean back. Okay, let's get started. All right, so one of the themes that we were going to be talking about is rejection, and how in a lot of literature and just in Black culture in general, you will hear people, there's an element, a vein of colorism that runs through this. And sometimes people will be so beautiful and so Black and flawless skinned. You'll often, and the type of skin that I'm talking about that would be considered blue black are often people from the Sudan, people who are around Lupita Nyong'o's color. She's from Kenya. And again, I know I said I wasn't going to be talking about those folks. I'm using them as reference. Although if you go to Atlanta on any given day, that ends in a Y, you'll find some blue black people. Go to Texas. You'll probably find some here in Colorado. Maybe not too many in Pueblo. Not too much on Pueblo. I love it here, y'all. Y'all been kind to me. But there's just not a lot of Black people. But to give you that picture, that is what they're talking about. Someone who is so deep and melanin rich that their skin takes on a bluish hue. Kind of like how you see ravens' wings and that blue is reflected. It's because it's bouncing off their wings and you see all kind of beautiful blue hues and all kind of other rainbow stuff. Anywho, so in this book, there's a chapter called Blue Gums and Blue Black. And there is something called a blue-gummed Negro. I wanted to read a little portion of that because I thought it was fascinating. And I'll get to the points that I thought was fascinating in a second. As poisonous as a diamond-back rattlesnake, a black person with blue gums must not be crossed. Their bite could kill with certainty. It doesn't seem like this was simply a racist myth because the information came from black people themselves. And it was a warning of particular potency because black people were awfully close, physically speaking, to the most powerful of white people, feeding them, dressing them, bathing them, serving them, nursing their babies, tending their wounds, making their death shrouds. Imagine then the fear that some among them in close quarters Imagine then the fear that some among them in close quarters could open their mouths, sink in their teeth, and end a white life and their own subjugation. Imagine. Also, too, y'all, people's mouths are just dirty. Like every human being on the face of the planet, if you get bit by a little kid and it breaks the skin, you probably should go to the doctor and get that stuff seen about because mouths are teeming full of all kind of germs and whatnot. But I had never heard. I mean, I know about blue gums. If I were so inclined, we would pretend like I was in Wakanda, and I'd take this mask off and pull down my lip, and you could see the edges of my gum where they were blue. It's just melanin. It's just melanin. Y'all, I remember my dad making me brush my teeth really hard there to get rid of that because he thought I wasn't brushing my teeth well. He thought something was wrong because my gums were going from pink to melanated. And it wasn't anything. It's just that some of my gums are pink and part of it is bluish. So watch out. I might bite you. I might be a blue gum Negro. Anywho, let me go on and read this next paragraph and then we'll move on. The folklore was spectacular, troublesome, and alluring. This is superstition or belief so strangely deterministic and unexplained. Why would they bite you? And what possible relation was there between the color of gums and poisonous saliva? Made its way in the 19th century from Black American folk culture into the mainstream. Reportage came from deep in the well of folk ways of knowing. Newspaper accounts were sensationalistic. One out of Warren, Arkansas, warning of a deadly blue gum Negro bite. That sounds like a band name. Is amusing but deeply disconcerting. While this has been the superstition, there have been doubts about the existence of a blue gum Negro. Many people know of other people who have seen the so-called poisonous Negro, but few have ever been found who have actually seen such a person. When I first read this account in the winter of 2022, I told a group of my friends about it on a Zoom call. We were 5 Black women. 3 smiled and lifted or lowered lips to show me their bluish gums. We cracked up. Unlike this newspaper writer, I've seen many a blue gum in my life, and I suspect so had plenty of Black folks of the 19th century. The man out of Arkansas simply didn't have good sources. So again, this is tying blueness to Blackness in a way that is just natural and normal for us. Let's move on to hoodoo blue. We're going to talk about it real quick because y'all know I love to speak about hoodoo. And y'all know any chance I get, what am I going to do? What am I going to do, chat? I'm going to bring up my grannies. That's right. I'm going to bring up my grannies. You cannot separate me from my grannies. You cannot separate me from my people. In no way, shape, or form am I better than them. Actually, they're better than me. Way, way better. And y'all better be grateful for that. Anywho, so as we have discussed in the past in previous books, one in particular, Ophi's Ghost by Justina Ireland, blue in hoodoo is a color of protection. Blue is sanctuary. It is holy. It is protective. It means that you are communing with the great beyond as well. Before I forget, we'll bring up Beyonce. Y'all don't have me defending a billionaire bringing her, but she knows her stuff. Somebody on her team knows her stuff. In her that Lion King movie, she released a bunch of songs and videos. It's called The Gift. That whole movie has a lot of different blue in it. Whenever she is talking to the ancestors or she is trying to show something spiritual, blue all throughout the movie. That is a color of protection and connection. In my own home, as I have said many times before, my windowsills and door frames are painted paint blue as a protection. Now, why did Lovely paint that? Because my grannies, who I brought up for a reason, I always bring them up for a reason, just because I want to, they all had their windowsills painted paint blue too. In the book, let me see if I can find a picture. She also shows not bottle trees, but a practice. I believe this is in Sierra Leone. Let me see if I can see it. Let me see. These are different pictures, but these are people. I want to say they're in Sierra Leone and they are wearing blue bottles, and there's a shrine with blue bottles. But in the South, there are these bottle trees. Those are all, these right here are bottles. Let me see if I can get my hand right. These are all bottles. And let me move my hand right here. Can you see my little hand? Wait, there we go, right here. These are bottles on a person as well. So those are all to trap evil spirits, and once they get in the bottle, they can't get out. A lot more people might be familiar with the evil eye. You'll often just see the eye with the white inside the blue, or in the hand of Fatima inside the blue. Again, that all comes from the continent of Africa, or that tradition comes from there. Let me not say it only comes from there. That is there too. Again, ward off evil spirits, help with grounding. Also, in the book, she mentions several times that in Senegal and the Congo, that people were being enslaved and trading with these little blue beads. These blue beads held currency. You could trade them for different things because the people in that general area all agreed upon these are worth something. Oftentimes, people who got captured and were kidnapped, the only thing of value that they had might have been some trinkets, some beads sewn in their hair or around their wrist, on their person, or the color blue that they were wearing. A lot of captors, overseers, wicked people who held folks against their will. What am I trying to say? Yeah, that's enough. They would go and they would buy cloth for the enslaved people that they had kidnapped on their in their work camps. Because y'all know I like to keep it a buck over here. Anywho, they're noted in their journals of debauchery and evil that they were doing to these people, that if they did not get a particular shade of blue or blue shade of cloth, that the quote-unquote African women didn't want anything to do with it. And that's probably because a large of them had come from the Congo and Senegal, where blue was, and the color blue was linked with spiritual practices and protection. So of course they wanted blue. They were trying to protect themselves from y'all evil tales. Anywho, let me stop. I digress. So let me see if we can talk a little bit about hoodoo blue. And then we'll go on from there. We might talk about the bluest eye and the blue-eyed Negroes. That's a part of one of the chapters in here. Hoodoo blue. Here we go. Conjure was an area in which European and African traditions resembled and thus reinforced one another. And that's from Albert Robital. And I'm sorry, that's a French name. I'm probably butchering it. Conjurers act on their worlds, transforming circumstances, escaping danger, and upending standard assumptions about how the world should work. Conjurers revealed a different kind of agency among African American slaves and their descendants. They offered a sense of control in what was otherwise an absurd situation. That's from Eddie S. Glaude Jr., Gladue. I'm sorry to that man if I'm mispronouncing his name. Also, I forgot to mention in the beginning, I listened to the audiobook because, like I have been telling y'all, I've been going through the Wang Bang Blues since we're going to keep it on topic, and the audiobook worked well for me. And for those of you who may have, for whatever reasons, maybe you got attention span issues, or you have vision issues, or I say issues. Maybe you're blind or you have low vision. Let me not make it an issue. The audiobook is wonderful. It is read by the author herself, Imani Perry. In addition to all the other things that she can do so well, she's a great narrator too. And I say that as praise because it's one thing to write a whole book, but then to be good at reading a book is a whole nother skill to have had to develop. So, I mean, my goodness, she's just good at a lot of different things. Did I show y'all? I did show y'all her picture. But I like this picture of her right here because she looks so cute in blue. Am I fangirling a bit? Yes, quite a bit. This lady is brilliant. She is brilliant. I bet you conversations with her are absolutely amazing. She probably surrounds herself with a lot of really smart people, too. There's a quote in here that I want to talk about. Let me see what time it is. Oh, it's only 4:32. That's not bad. Let me check to see if we have any comments. Pardon my... I don't see any. Okay. Also, please remember to share this live stream so that... Oh, StreamYard is sending me something. Please remember to share the live stream so that the algorithm... Why is this here, honey? Let me get this out of here. Oh, I see. I'm not clicking on anything. Let me get this out of here, friends. Let me go back. Excuse me, y'all. I'm going to have to go in here and get rid of this. Hide. There we go. Okay, it's gone. Anywho, let me read this quote from this particular chapter, and then we'll move on. If we were to only document Black American life as the crimes against us, all we would have to name ourselves would be a travelogue of immortality and tragedy. Wait. Excuse me. Let me start over again. If we were only to document Black American life as the crimes against us, all we would have to name ourselves would be a travelogue of immorality and tragedy. And that would not have been or be of much use to Black people. And a catalog of achievement against the odds must bolster, but it doesn't necessarily sustain. Plus, we do not always conquer. The widely embraced Christian God works in mysterious ways, not certain results. Hoodoo was therefore a necessary partner. Prior to emancipation or widespread literacy, it was a system for collecting and preserving information to navigate life. And I'll add that it's still doing that very much today. If you are not in the know, I'm going to give you a little tip. You probably already have heard this from me, but baby, Black people are still practicing hoodoo every single day, every day. Again, what time is it? It's time for Levin to do what? Bring up her grannies. If you had 9 grannies, you bring them up too. Well, actually, 9 grandparents. All of them were not grannies, just most of them. I had 5. Anywho, it was very common. That's where I learned hoodoo from. My great-grandmother, Charlesetta, I was about to say Gummo. That's what we called her. I'm just going to call her Gummo. My great-grandmother, Gummo, had lucky horseshoes above her door, railroad spikes. She was the one that had the sills in her home painted blue. So all the window sills, the door sills, all of them were painted blue. She's the one where I got the inspiration to do that from. And I'm like, ooh, to keep the haints and the old fays and buckras away, even though she'd probably laugh at me because there's a whole buckra in my home. But that's okay. I wanted that buckra there. It's okay. It's okay. Anywho, and I'm not telling y'all what buckra means. If you follow the my book club, then you know we've read a book where they explain what that means. And I'm not telling you, you can look it up. Anywho, I wanted to talk about that in particularly because there's a resurgence. You probably will see different African Americans, Black American people who have purposely dyed the tips of our hands blue, especially in February. You'll probably see it a lot in February. You'll probably see it a lot in October. One, because February, of course, is Black History Month, African American History Month. That's what we really need to say it, child, because anywho. And then October is Hoodoo Heritage Month. So that's when people are doing a lot of reflection and honoring their ancestors, and that will come up. But just like this book said, it's to help us navigate the world. It's to help us figure out things, because imagine you was just minding your business somewhere in the West Africa, doing whatever you was doing. I don't know, picking berries, hunting, going to get some water, visiting your cousin or somebody, and some rando snatches you up, does all kind of horrible things for you, stick you on a nasty boat, and takes you thousands of miles away from everything you've ever known and people you've ever known. Hoodoo in and of itself is a reflection of Black people because it is an amalgamation of different practices, very much like the DNA that resides in our skin. Anywho, I just wanted to focus on that little bit. Let me see what else we're going to talk about. Ooh, reclamation. Let's talk about one of my favorite scientists in the whole wide world, George Washington Carver. Now, some of you, like me, probably have known him mostly for peanuts. George Washington Carver was a genius, probably a prodigy of some sort. She does mention this in the book, how people have always spreading all these different myths about his genitalia. People, because he had a high-pitched voice, so people thought he was a eunuch. And I don't think she was ever able to find anything that said. The rumor was that the white people who adopted him or let him live with them castrated him so that he would not be able to force himself upon any of the women in that family. And I find that real interesting, that would be the first thing that y'all did. Meanwhile, down the street, up the road, you know what? I'm going to hold my tongue, but I'll just say this. I probably, on average, have about 20% of white ancestry in my DNA. Now, how did that get there? As I mentioned, I knew 9 of my grandparents. Not one of them was white. Now, I wonder how they got there. And they worried about George Washington Carver. And here I am, as Black as I am, with probably 20 to 25% of white DNA. How to get there? Let me stop. That's a different kind of education. Y'all look in this picture right here. That is, speaking of indigo, let me see if I can get it up on the screen. That is a gentleman in Sierra Leone, I believe, who is using indigo to dye that cloth blue. And you can see that on his hands and feet and legs. It's also blue because he's dyed so much cloth. Let me see. It'll tell me what it says. He is not in Sierra Leone. I just been making up stuff. He's from Nigeria. It's a dyer dyeing cloth in the indigo dye pits of Kano, Nigeria. So he's in Nigeria. Okay, so let's talk about George Washington Carver. When George Washington Carver first arrived at Tuskegee, there was little money and few resources. Nevertheless, he was charged with building an agricultural department. Carver made do. Along with his students, just a generation out of slavery, with Jim Crow yoking them all, Carver collected bottles and broken glass and used glass blowing techniques to create makeshift test tubes and sample dishes for the laboratory. Carver was different, but he behaved in a way that was familiar to Tuskegee locals. He wandered the forest and hills, observing and collecting flora. This was the common behavior of a hoodoo man or a hoodoo woman. You hear me, y'all? You hear me? If you ever see me out in the woods wandering around, don't bother me. I'm probably doing some hoodoo. I'm probably picking up a leaf or something, looking at some plants, leaving an offering. Leave me be, leave me be. Because this is true. The fact that she wrote that in there, I didn't know that about George Washington Carver. I didn't know that part of the reason why he was so revered and respected is because even though he was not a hoodoo man, he had the behaviors of one, and Black people respected him because of that. If y'all, speaking of which, if y'all in the movie Sinners, in the very beginning, when they're going to go see Annie, when Smoke, I don't forgot the other boy's name, and it wasn't Smoke, maybe it was. Anyway, when he goes to see Annie, whichever the Michael B. Jordans it was, she's running her little store, and the little girl asks her, "Oh, can I have my mama said she wants a pinch of High John. I forgot to bring my root High John," because she talks about High John and Low John in this chapter too. And I wanted to show you all the root. That's okay. She talks about how those come from marigold flowers, or a type of marigold, and those flowers are blue. We'll get to that anyway. Anywho, back to what I was saying. The conjure woman or the conjure man was a staple in the Black community. I really wish Ryan Coogler had gotten a Black American woman to play that part, but I digress. Wishing and wishing ain't gonna change the fact that he didn't. But Ryan Coogler, he was so careful with everybody else's cultures except for his own. Black folks, we have to be more aware. We got to be more aware. Anywho, that was a perfect scene, especially in the rural South in 1932. People were still practicing hoodoo. Sometimes it's called conjure. They were practicing hoodoo at a very high rate, higher than what is practiced today. Although that hoodoo is not a closed. It is a closed practice, but you don't have to be initiated to practice hoodoo. It was just so common. I think a lot of our grandparents and parents didn't think to write anything down, although you'll find a lot of books on it now. I don't think they thought to write anything down, and they halfway wouldn't explain it to you. You just had to be quiet and observe things. Anywho, let me read a little bit about this. Because George Washington Carver did so much, not only for Black Americans, but for agricultural in general. He's the one that reminded Americans, hey, you got to crop rotate. You got to rotate them crops so that you don't mess up the soil. And my goodness, he loved him some Alabama soil. If he loved anything, he loved Alabama soil. And he knew what he was talking about. And so many people would have starved if it was not for George Washington Carver. But I digress. Anywho, where are we? Carver moved through nature with a spiritual purpose. He described how God spoke directly to him through the plant world. Local folk turned to him for guidance in the way they were accustomed, as though he were a root worker. Carver responded in kind, distributing topical salves for ringworm and oak rashes made of the juice of black nightshade leaves, and sweet cream, among other remedies. Though he was an apprentice to an elder conjurer, Carver did learn about medicinal plants from his relationship with the local community. For example, they had a plethora of healing uses for blue gentian. Now, as some of y'all know, I used to work at a health food store, and I used to sell the mess out of that blue gentian. People would rub it on their babies' gums to help with pain while they was cutting their teeth. We sold that a lot. Also, they would use it for digestion disruptions. Anyway, the bottle-shaped royal blue perennial flocked to by bees. Hang on a second. Yeah, okay. Yeah. The bottle-shaped royal blue perennial flocked to by bees, and he recorded them. Carver also noticed their efforts, even in the most modest of circumstance, to live with some elegance. Okay, yeah, we're just talking about the Black folk there that he was being of service to, and how even though they didn't have a lot, they knew they was worth a bunch, and they carried themselves accordingly as much as they could. Okay, let's move on. I think there was something about jazz and reflection. I think that's what we'll end it on. It's 444. That's an angel number. 444. Also, too, numbers and numerology and all that stuff, that's really big in hoodoo as well as quoting things from specific spiritual books. Most of the time you'll see people in hoodoo quoting it from the Bible, but you can really use any religious book that you find a connection to. Anywho, On the blue note in jazz. This is a perfect place to end this. I think that jazz is one of Black people's best inventions. Before we read this, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because we've done so many things, and it's people don't know. It's not being taught. It's getting erased. Other people are trying to take credit for it. You can't trick me. You won't be destiny swapping over here anytime too soon. But I digress. Okay, so Black people have done so much. So when you're driving down the street and you stop at that stoplight, you can thank Black people for the red, green, and the red. The stoplights, that was us. Also, the baby carriages that you be pushing your kids around, that was also us. Also, the elevator, once again, who was it? Black Americans. Also, the origins. Now, when you're Googling these things, because I always say, please double check me, because I know I'm not wrong, but you should also always check your sources, even if it is me. The origins of Labor Day and Memorial Day are who? Black Americans. Now, if you look up when was the first Labor Day celebrated, when was the first Memorial Day celebrated, it'll tell you something else. But if you look up the origins, or even ask if Black people were the origins of either one of those holidays, you'll get the true story. You're welcome for your day off. Also, we gave you another one fairly recently that became nationalized. You're welcome for Juneteenth too. You're welcome. We stay doing that kind of stuff. Not to mention the blues, hip hop, jazz, rock and roll, country, house. The Germans really did fine tune it. It took off. It took off in Germany. But guess what? House was created where? In Detroit, a lovely city. That's also a house reference. Let's see what else. There's so many musical genres. We've basically had a hand in creating, or the originators for most American musical genres and musical genres around the world, except for classical. Y'all can keep that one. Anywho, I mean, I like some classical, but really, y'all can have one. It's okay. We'll share. We're generous people, sometimes to a fault. Anywho, back to jazz. On the blue note in jazz, and this is the part of the book where we're talking about reflection, probably maybe even redemption or reclamation. It is the in-between. It is the slurred note, that which isn't recognized on the Western scale. Increasingly, musicians have been talking about a blues scale, and that's actually just a wonderful example because the addition of the blue note to the sound of American music transforms it much in the way that there's something indispensable about the presence of Black people in the United States and in what it becomes. And at the same time, it is its own thing. And also it has connection to these other genres of music. It's a beautiful example for me of actually the combination of African Americans being American, becoming a people in the context of the United States, and also having these connections that are like arteries to the rest of the Black world. My goodness. Y'all, please read this book. If you hadn't had a chance, I'm going to put this one back on the shelf so that you can check it out. Imani Perry is just a phenomenal writer. She took such great care in writing and researching this book. It's not very long. You'll be enthralled in the best way possible. I am not even giving the book justice. There are quite a few things that I wanted to talk about, but our time is coming to an end, friends. I do hope that when you are celebrating African American History Month in America, emphasis on the American again, because I think somebody trying to be messy and start, do something, stir up some problems between Black folks and the rest of the diaspora. They're probably just trying to make money online because they get paid for views, and you can rage bait people nowadays. Anywho, but I did just want to emphasize that point. I do not care what non-African American, Black American peoples have to say about what Black History Month is, because it's for us. Y'all can do the other months. Do June. June's wonderful, and you already have that month. And I hear you also have September, depending on what country you are from in Africa. And again, in the UK, it's in October, and we don't do nothing. We let y'all have y'all months. We let y'all wave y'all flags, and all we are asking for is respect in return. But actually, we're not asking for, well, y'all, if you don't know my people, you will learn. We don't really ask. We just fight for what is ours. So careful, careful. Anywho, I digress. I definitely digressed a lot. Let's see. We did the discussion questions. The next one, let me do this, and then I'll move my big head out the way so I could tell you some other books that you might enjoy reading that are similar to this wonderful tome by Imani Perry. Okay, so if you enjoyed this book and you would like to read more books that have a similar nature to Black and Blues, How a Color Tells the Story of My People, I'm going to recommend 4 books. The first one, you know what? I should have took that little thing off. That's okay. It'll keep going. The first one is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. It's the story of a Black girl in America whose love for its blonde, blue-eyed children can devastate all others. It was first published in 1970. It won the 1993 Nobel Prize and was republished again in 2000. The second book is going to be Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. It's a bold and personal literary exploration of America's racial history by the single best writer on the subject of race in the United States. And that's from the New York Observer. Not lovely, although I do like Ta-Nehisi Coates' writing. This third book I'm going to recommend is called The Deep, and it's by River Solomon. And actually, Imani Perry mentions this toward the end of the book when she is talking about reclamation and reflection. There is a band called Drexcia, and they wrote songs about the world that was created when pregnant African women were thrown overboard off of the slave ships, and how they all learned to grow. Well, they didn't learn how people started developing gills and living underwater to escape the torment, the great sadness, the great Ma'afa. Anyway, the water-breathing descendants of African slave women tossed overboard have built their own underwater society and must reclaim the memories of their past to shape their future in this brilliantly imaginative novella. I think that book's only like 173 pages or something like that. We do have a copy of this book in print form. I don't know if it's on audio or not. But anyway, River Solomon is another author who is just brilliant in the way that they write and think about things. And then the last book that I'm going to recommend is, y'all know I love me some Justina Ireland. It's Ophi's Ghost. Look at cute little Ophi. She's so adorable, y'all. It is a junior fiction book, and it's amazing. It's a historical fiction. Ophelia Harrison used to live in a small house in the Georgia countryside, but that was before the night in November in 1922 and the cruel act that took her home and her father from her, which was the same night that Ophi learned that she could see ghosts. My goodness, y'all, they talk about hoodoo so much in this book. They talk about haints. They talk about, I almost said Petty Blue because of that race car driver. They talk about haints. They talk about blue bottles. They talk about a ton of different things. A lot of the things that Imani Perry mentions in her book, Justina Ireland touches on in a fictional novel. I really love historical fictions because they can talk about a time period that actually happened without having to be so factual about things. Do they throw facts in there? Absolutely. But then they're able to have a little bit more creative liberty and license with how they tell the story and how they put these facts together. Wonderful, wonderful writing. Wonderful book. And speaking of which, it's the best segue too. Let me move my big head, y'all. Boop, boop, boop. Boop. To what? Guess what, y'all? We're reading Justina Ireland next month. I know y'all sick of me. Y'all hate to see me coming with Justina Ireland. No, you don't. I know you don't. She's a wonderful writer. So I will be seeing y'all March the 19th at 4 p.m. for Rust in the Root by Justina Ireland. It's a spellbinding historical fantasy set at the crossroads of race and power in America. And I picked this book because it's Women's History Month. And why not? Why would we not read a book written about a Black woman by a Black woman? So I hope that, let me see if I can get my big head back in the picture. There we go. So I hope that I will be seeing y'all next month, March 19th at 4, as we discuss Rust in the Root by Justina Ireland. Y'all need to come on by to the library to Lamb. I have a Black History Month display up. You can check out Imani Perry's book. You can check out this book that we're going to be doing for next month. You can check out a whole bunch of things. I have a book up there by about the art of Ruth Carter. She's the lady, the Black American lady who designed the costumes for the Black Panther movies, among many other movies. She did Meteor Man. She did Baps, Black American Princess. That Black American Princess is a really funny, really awesome movie. What else? Ruth Carter is just amazing. She's done so much. I'm barely scratching the surface. I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you for watching the live stream. Thank you, replay viewers. I forgot to say that in the beginning, but trust and believe. I never forget y'all. I appreciate the reviews or the what was I trying to say? The rewatches, even though you can't watch it live, I see you when you do watch it later, and I appreciate your time. I will see you all next month. Please share the live stream. I already said that. Remember to like the page. Wait, what are we doing? Like the page. Let's get rid of this. Like the page, and also sign up for the newsletter right there so that you can get all the questions beforehand. I'll give you little insights. I will also give you interviews that I am using to research the book. I might not post them on Facebook because, to be quite honest, y'all, I'm just not on social media as I used to be. I'm trying to work on that, at least for work. I really don't want to be on social media. I have other things to do in my life. And I'm not judging those of you who are on social media. I'm just doing other things, probably some hoodoo. Anywho, I hope that y'all have a wonderful day. I hope the rest of your week is great. Happy Black History Month. Come by the library, do one of our programs, say hi to me. I'd love to have you. I'd love to see you. I think that's it, y'all. Thank you for the people who were able to join me live. I appreciate you and your time. If you have any questions, hit that email or hit the newsletter. You can respond through the newsletter and I will answer your questions. You can respond through the comment section as well. I look at those as well. I'll answer your questions. All right, y'all. Please have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you later. Goodbye. Happy Black History Month. Happy Black History Month. Wait, I got to end this. Why won't it let me end? Oh, it says I can play an outro. I don't have an outro.
Ready for a story?